as we got underway on the next segment. And John said 5 little words that I have never forgotten and have taken through my entire career. And those words are more bang for the buck. I've never forgotten John, and I hope all my clients get that from whoever I work for. Thank you for all your time.
I'm Dennis Morey. I work for John, and he taught me 5 words. You're flat on your ass. You know, I was telling John this when I just saw him a few minutes ago. We still tell John Adams inspirational stories at our division. And a lot of us, I was telling somebody earlier today that some people thought that I was John's intern. Because I used to hang around with him. I guess I looked young at that time. And John and I would get in very early in the morning, and people could tell he was making coffee, 2 bags of coffee and no water. And so, but John would always come by my office, and Ed McSped, and they come by my office and kind of check in. These guys got in early, they'd say good morning, and John has a soft side, like he's a tough guy, but I know he must have some culture because I'm an architect. He protected me from the construction managers. And but really, and I tell people that John Adams was my mentor, and I'm sincere about that. So I really appreciate that, sir.
Thank you.
Really.
It was a pleasure working with you, Jim.
Wow. And Jim Cohen should be here today, but he sent something and it's sealed, and it says to John. And when I met Jim was the director of construction management on LACTC, but he called him Jimmy, so I still call him Jimmy. Jim, so he works on the West Side Subway project now. So we're not using somebody's knife here because Jim's really sealed this really well. And actually, I'm shaking right now. I normally don't shake. Too much iced tea alcohol. Okay, but anyhow. Restrooms right there. Okay, so Jim wrote this. I haven't had time to read it or cross out the 4 letter words, so you're going to have to hear what he has to say. Okay, this is from Jim Cohen. John, sorry I can't make it to your 80th birthday party, but I will be in Palm Springs at my father's-in-law's 80th birthday party. And you're like a second father to him too, so that, it's something. I hope you are feeling well and life is treating you well. I do want to take this opportunity to thank you again for giving a wet behind the ears general contractor's project engineer a great opportunity in 1986. I do appreciate your taking a chance in hiring me when the Metro Blue Line was just about to enter construction. Those were some great times building the Blue Line, then the Green Line, and starting to construct the Pasadena Gold Line. As my mentor through all those years, not a day went by when I didn't pick up a thing or two from you on how to better manage a construction contractor project, kick some ass, and keep the project moving, parentheses, I didn't write this. No matter if the engineering or third-party groups were attempting to slow or stop the work. I am sure that others have mentioned your various quips. Quote, better to ask for forgiveness rather than permission. Here's another one, quote, it's just lipstick and rouge. Yeah. That I still hear in meetings today. So have a happy birthday, and just know that you have profoundly changed my life and my family's for the better. With much love and greatest respect, Jim Cohen.
With Jim, I said, Jim, one of these days you're going to get your PE license. He says, what the hell am I going to need that for? I says, before you become head of the MTA, you're going to have a PE license. Get your ass out there and do it. And he did it. Thank you so much.
Who else? Just come on up. Well, John. Okay, so 1986 is the year. I'm the office engineer with Tom Lee over there. And so things progressed. We had the blue line going and we ended up moving into the Puzzle Palace. And you had that office, I recall, that you had your exercise bike in.
Yes.
And I'm actually trying to track that down for you again to hang your clothes on if you want it. Because it did get moved up into the 27th floor exercise room a few years back, but I don't know if it's still there. I'll check though. Anyway, one thing I remember going into John's office, and it was, you know, before computers were really popular. And I was always impressed with how clean John's office was and how organized it was. And I said, what do you do to keep this so organized in here? He said, well, this pile at the end of the desk, it's closest to the garbage pail. If I don't touch it in a month, then like right there, a whole bunch of correspondences went right in the trash. So I thought, well, this is a way to do it, apparently. So anyway, that's my little story of back in the 80s and 90s. And
I'm glad it works for you.
in my office, I had too much time with Tom Lee, and Tom Lee keeps everything. So I'm tending to be more like Tom, but I try to remember those days of throwing stuff out with you. So anyway, thank you for all of your help in my career, and I'm still there, and they're putting up with me. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mwah.
There's my man. How you doing?
I'm Paul Taylor, and I don't know, over 30 years ago, a bunch of politicians decided they wanted to build a light rail line from downtown LA to Long Beach. And at that time, there was only a handful of us at LACTC. I think Linda was there, of course Jerry was there. And so there weren't too many people. I wasn't too fast at getting under the desk, and they turned to me and said, you're going to do this. You're going to do the project. And I said, okay, whatever. I don't know anything about it. But luckily I was able to find, with some help, a guy right here who at least said he knew how to do it. And he, when he walked in the door, I was sure that he was straight out of The Godfather. And I expected him to tell me he was going to make me an offer I couldn't refuse. The good part was he made that offer to the constructors, and they didn't refuse, and we got the job done. So thank you, John.
Thank you.
And I'm glad that you're looking so well at such a young age.
You're such a drama.
I learned from you.
Here's my wife. How you doing?
Good. My story about John is I joined the LACTC in 1991 in September, and I took over the project management slot of Segment 1 from John. And I guess for the next year and a half before it was actually finished, John would stop by my office once in a while and say, "How's it going, kid?" And I was 42 at the time, and just starting to approach that point. And I'm like, I love it when you say that, John. But in all seriousness, the Segment 1 was successful in the fact that we got it open at January 30th. This past January was the 20th anniversary of that big day. The thing that impressed me most about John was not what he did or said while I was there, but what he did before. The organization that was set up for Segment 1 with engineering and construction and the people that were involved and the whole setup, I just stepped into. I didn't have to set up anything. I didn't have to hire or fire anyone. It was running. And all I did was hold the reins until the wagon got to the finish line. And that's always impressed me. I've seen other construction organizations in different agencies, and they all pale in comparison to the one that was set up under John, the one that he had running so well. And all we did for Segment 3 was continue that same organization, and segment 3, as you all know, was the first one in LA to come in on time and under the original budget. And I give the credit to this guy who set it up in the beginning. Thanks, John.
Come on, somebody else. Oh.
Well, I'm Ed Richardson. We go back a ways, huh?
Yes, we do.
I think the first couple of months or so that I knew John were not good. One was the fire on the Red Line downtown, and I see a few heads nodding. Right? It's the fire. And now, you didn't have anything directly to do with that. But at any rate, and the other one
said you gotta have your fire, and here it is.
And on the Blue Line, we had no sooner started. I think it was about a week or so. No, it must have been longer, because the good old Manchester Bridge fed, and was underway. I guess we must have been underway for about a year, and then that bridge collapsed, the shoring, and luckily we got Firestone Bridge. Firestone Bridge. Boy, it's tough to be wrong. In front of everybody. Sorry.
Got that from Palin.
Get the right clothes.
Isn't it fun when you bring back good memories? And then, but I think, and then we went through, like we talked about Jimmy coming on board, and other people, and the group. I think the whole organization at the time, and all of you were there, it was a good organization, and it's grown into be what it is today. But there's one thing that keeps coming back, and I feel I have to share it, because I've shared it with, I'd say, at least 40, 50 times over the last year with people who I work with, and younger people. And I'd say, you know what? John Adams always said to me, you're polishing a turd. Am I telling the truth?
Get ready to deal with the board.
That's right. And because I was thinking, when I first heard it, I said, that's crude. I can't lower myself to use it. I'm using it all the time now. You know what I'm saying? And because it is very apropos. I mean, we all hear this garbage that people throw out in all our lives, and then they try to polish it. It doesn't improve anything inside, but it still is, it's junk. And don't polish it up. And just wanted you to know that that's being passed on all over America. Happy birthday.
Someone else want to share something with us? No? Come on, somebody's got to have another memory, a funny story.
Let me tell a funny story.
Okay.
Like Jerry Gibbons over there. When I met Jerry says we have to go down to South Central LA and talk to all the towns, find out what the price of doing business is. And Jerry opened all the doors, made all the contacts. We sat down with people and we found out what the price of business is doing in South Central. My man, great.
Listen, I've heard all this crap about how nice this guy is. I was scared of this guy, largely because of the way he talked to you guys. Now, there's two things that McSpedden and John always make me remember. Ed would know this because he worked with me on it. It was those damn third-party agreements.
The price of doing business.
If you can't get those done, you're not going to get anything done on time and within budget. So, third-party agreements. We had to dig these things out and create them from scratch, if you remember that. And then we had to go to 500 different entities that crossed both those tracks. And I say both, I'm talking about 4 tracks. You had the Southern Pacific to deal with, and then you had Alameda, Wilmington Corridor, you know. The kind of encouragement I got from him, though, after sitting in some of these meetings, and trust me, he didn't sit in all of them. It's only because of what Paul said. He looked like he was from the mafia, so he was a good guy to open the door for you and sit down and do business. But generally, after a while, I come to learn, along with these other ditties and sayings, that when I would run in trouble with some of these things and I asked people, what should we do about it? John's response was, Jay, that's what he called me, Jay, we make pigs fly. Get out there. And we did. And we did a great job at it, and nobody's done it better since then.
The only reason it was a job that I really loved was the people that wanted to take the chances, do the stuff, kick ass, and make it happen. And you're all here today. So thank you so much.
I thought to go into my collection, and I pulled out a Metro pen for July 1990, the opening day of the Blue Line. Also here for John is a pen that you won't find anywhere else, LACTC. Happy birthday, John.
I'm Larry Kelsey, and I work contracts under John. And in contracts, we used to say, thank heavens for HR because they keep contracts from being the most hated department. Because construction people want to get stuff done, and they feel like contracts people are telling them you can't do that. Well, I came out of aerospace and was hired by the Blue Line to do construction. And I got a change order across my desk, and I'd been there a couple of weeks. And I looked at this and I said, there's no way this is going to go. So I called John, and John comes up with some guy named Clyde Garrison. And I got double teamed, and I got educated right away. Now, I could give you the 5 words that he taught me, but they've already been written. I think he used all of them. But what I learned from John was how to be a contracts person and be more realistic, so that you know when to stick with the line and you know when you can bend a little bit. And that's really important in construction, because otherwise contracts people never build anything, you know. So it's guys like John that build it. John told a story to me, and I wouldn't be able to do a favor, but justice, but he told me about working on, I don't know if it was a subway but it was rail in New York, and how guys would come up and tell him how to award the next contract. Remember that, John?
Yes.
Even if you could tell that, I'm sure they'd all appreciate it, but thank you.
I have a kindred spirit as far as contracts go, because for a portion of my career, I was a contracts and specs guy. So I knew where Larry lived, you know. Somebody came in the room just a little while ago. Hello, my friend, looking for you for so long.
John, I wouldn't miss this for my life, but I was late and I apologize for that. But you know, Mexicans are always late.
Good to see you, man.
One thing I'll just say about John very, very quickly is that I never worked for anyone at any time who took care of your back like John did. When he gave you an assignment, you know he was always behind you. One of the biggest lessons I've learned. I love the guy. I know all of you do too.
Yes. Do we have any more cute stories, memories?
How about my Savior saying a couple of words?
Oh, God. John said, no, don't tell that story.
I love it.
Tell it. I was a new CEO, a couple weeks on the job, and I got a call from a board member saying, Parsons Dillingham called me, they're really pissed at your staff. You gotta fire John Adams. I go, what? Fire John Adams? What? No, come on, what's happening? Well, Dillingham guy is upset because John yelled at him. And I didn't know John too well, but I knew he was a tough guy. So I said, wait a minute, let me get back to you, let me figure out what's going on. And in fact, you know, the contractor wasn't doing his job, and John was reminding him that he wasn't. So in order to appease a certain board member, we started partnering. Went to Pasadena to the Parsons office and sat down with, you know, a bunch of you guys and the Dillingham Parsons guys, worked out an agreement, and John got to keep his job. I wasn't going to let that happen anyway. That was a lesson to me of contractors trying to go the political route to get around a contract provision or what they were supposed to do. And John holding fast and saying, no, this is what we want to build, and this is how we want to build it.
When I approached these people, I said, and I knew the people who were in charge of the organization, I said, you got a guy, and I don't want to make an issue out of it, you need to take care of it in your business. And I don't want to make it public, but they wouldn't play the game that way. And they decided that they wanted my ass on the line. And this lady saved my ass.
But no, I wanted to just mention that I did a quick search on the Metro intranet last night before I left, and this came up, this Metro family came up with Linda on the front, and here's John right here as well. So I'll leave this with John, and you guys can take a look at it, but it's just in black and white on the intranet, but it captures the fact that you guys are both working together and corroborates the story you just told us.
Do we have anybody else? No? Okay, well, I'm going to share one story with you, and it's not so much a work-related story, but back in that day, I was kind of getting my feet wet in contracts and working on the other side, and I was on this side of the hallway, and John had his office on the other end of the hallway. And at the time that I was working for John, my kids were little. They were like her age. This is my granddaughter, by the way, everybody. And the oldest ones were about her age. The other ones were 8, 9. And kids will be kids. They'd call me, Mom, he's doing this, Mom. And the phone would keep ringing, shut up, I'll see you when I get home. And I'd go to his office and say, John, these kids are going to kill me, John. I don't think I'm going to make it. And he'd say, you'll make it, doll. You'll make it. I said, you promise, John? You promise? He goes, I promise. And now years later, I'm like, oh, you were so right, John. I made it. He's like a second dad to me, and I love him a lot.
My line to her was, this tooth will change.
Barbara, you have anything you want to share?
You can always get words of wisdom from John in every aspect of life, personal as well as work. But one of the things that I remember John used to say to me all the time when I would get frantic about certain things, he says, doll, come into my office, have some couch time. Couch time. And we'd sit there and talk about politics, LACTC, anything that we wanted to, whatever came up was on the agenda that day. And John was always there to give me words of encouragement and made me feel special. And I really enjoyed working with this guy. He was one of my favorite and still will be #1 favorite of all my construction managers that I've worked with.
Thank you.
Love you, John.
Thank you. To give you an illustration about the Firestone Bridge, when the girder came down, there was a truck. That the rear end of the bed of the truck was crushed by the girder. There were 2 guys in front. Not a scratch on them. Right? So, taking with the theme of don't ask for permission, ask for forgiveness, I ordered the contractor to get rid of the body. That was the girder. Within 7 hours, they demolished the entire girder. And the next morning, at 6 a.m., Firestone Boulevard was over. The story was gone. The picture was clean. Nothing could be written about. And then the investigation. Who was guilty? There was no evidence for anybody to look at. So remember, when you're up against something like that, get rid of the body. I loved it later during the night as the demolition was going on. People were showing up with neck braces on. Where do I file my claim?
Okay, well, if there's nobody else that wants to share a story, then we're all going to get to sing happy birthday to John. How about that? So, yeah. Okay. John, can I get you to come and sit over here behind your cake?
I don't move so good.